You turn. I think we're good now.
Mark wasn't happy, and I hate when he's not happy.
I think we're good. If you can turn your microphones on, please.
All right,
Thank you.
so motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Mike.
Oh my
Thank you,
goodness.
sir.
I'll make a motion that Liz Freya and Brian West be seated as voting members this evening.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We need a chair for Liz.
Thank you.
Here, Liz.
All right, we have,
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
And Letty, can you hear us
Oh, no,
okay?
I'm sorry. That's my nephew.
Yep.
Awesome, thank you.
I thought you meant the phone. I was like, oh, yeah. No, that's my nephew.
all right, are we ready?
We are.
We have, yes. Bayside Distribution, presenting a formal site plan proposing a prefabricated steel storage enclosure to be located within an existing paved stockyard at the Bayside Distribution Facility on Route 125.
We do need a motion to invoke jurisdiction.
So moved.
I didn't, you
So moved.
need a second?
Second.
Glenn, do we have everything we need to invoke jurisdiction?
You do indeed.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Do we have to do roll call?
Oh.
We do have with someone remote, and we have to make a motion
Right.
for Letty to join us remotely.
I make that motion. We join the board this evening. Remotely. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so any other votes we'll need to roll call.
So I made the motion aye.
Who was the second on the Letty?
Oh, and,
on Letty, it was Brian. Brian.
so I'm making the motion to
Invoke jurisdiction.
Yeah,
Okay,
jurisdiction.
so we're gonna do a roll call vote. Who was the second on that?
I second that.
Okay. All right, roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Letty?
You want to do that again? We didn't hear you.
So roll call vote,
Aye.
Letty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're ready. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, folks. Alan Roscoe from TF.
Excuse me, could you move that over?
Yeah.
We can't.
Would you do this, just bring it right over here?
Yep, that'll work.
We're looking to resolve the mic situation.
You don't want to block anybody's view.
Sorry. Yeah, if you want, is this better? Okay.
Anybody who wants to see, are more than welcome to come up front.
So our site plan has been submitted to you folks. You have a complete set in front of you. Part of the site plan set is our existing conditions plan, which I have here on display. And then also on the flip side, we'll have our proposed conditions. Show what our work is proposed. So this existing conditions plan shows the rear of the existing building. This is the area that we'll be working in. So this shows the rear of the existing building, the parking area over in this region, and then there's a staging area that's in the back, it's all paved. And this shows the wetland area that is existing in the back. We've been before the Conservation Commission here, gotten some feedback. We also met with the ZBA and got approvals for the work adjacent to the wetland. So what I'll do is hand out a smaller version of what we're proposing here, and it's colored so it's easier to see.
Want us to just pass them along and you can keep them going? Back in the next one. I think I have more than enough.
That's
You
it.
guys have enough?
There we go.
I've got
You want two?
Oh, boy. So what you see, I'm giving you a handout version of what I have on the board here. So we've colored in the rear of the building in brown, and then we've got a green shaded area on the edge of the property, which is wetlands. The green hatching is the existing wooded area or tree line, and then the gray is existing paved. Our proposed work is the rectangle to the rear of the existing building. It's a 3,000 square foot proposed supported roof structure that is going to be covering product, kegs of beer, stacks, like that. And we're proposing this work all in areas that have already been involved. So all of the work will be within the paved area at the rear, and we will have erosion controls in place through the construction period to protect the resource areas. And again, this has all been reviewed by the Conservation Commission. So we've taken a look at impacts to the project. And again, we're not going to go any closer to the wetlands that has already been disturbed. We'll have erosion control in place, construction barrier. There is no additional runoff to be generated because all the surfaces are impervious. And there'll be less salting impacts or sediment impacts from winter protections. So all in all, there'll be no deleterious impact to the wetland. And we're here to see
Question about where, so right now, we use that for uncovered storage or parking or, so how will you get in and around the building? It doesn't look like you'll be able to get around behind the building, but you'll.
Yeah, the scale may be misleading, but we've separated the roof structure 20 feet off the back of the building, so we need fire code. So there is 20 feet in between the structure and the rear of the building. So they typically use forklifts or smaller vehicles to maneuver the product. And that's given them plenty of room. No, there is a way around, but yeah, they can either go through or go around.
That would complete the whole building? That would complete going around the whole building at that point? I'm just thinking about the fire department. Are they able to access that?
Yes, this is, the driveway runs through the side of the property into the back here, so they have access to the back. There's 20-foot separation between the new structure and the building, so they can get access. Your mic.
I was thinking along the same lines, because if you wanted to get all the way around, then you're into the wetlands, so, but you're saying you go between the two buildings.
Correct, but there's no paved pathway all the way around.
Right.
It won't be any worse than it is.
And what did you say you were storing in this building?
kegs.
And it's not really a building. If you look at the last pages of the plan set, it's literally a covered shelter.
Oh,
It's
A roof
open,
canopy.
it's
So
open
it's
on
not-
all four sides.
It's not closed.
Correct.
I
I
suspect,
get
Correct.
I suspect what's happening is they're leaving these empty aluminum kegs outside and they're getting water on them and freezing them, and it becomes a mess getting them back into the building. So they just want a way to cover that area. And that area is already an impervious surface with asphalt. And this already has a ZBA variance granted already.
Yeah, they have requested two waivers that perhaps you want to address to the board, or,
For the site plan piece?
yeah, did
Yeah.
Nick not tell you about the two waivers?
No,
The beauty of it is, he actually put the waivers themselves on the front page of the plan.
They're in your packet as well.
right.
Just, real quick, what was the feedback from the Conservation Commission? I don't know if we,
Well, yeah, unfortunately, I'm not sure if any written comments got into the record, but,
They're on the ZBA plan, there are written comments.
Letty wants to talk.
They were not opposed.
thank you.
Thank you.
they recommended the same things that I was speaking, will be reduced sanding and salting of that area in winter, so.
What is this building? I don't know if it's a building, what is this, just to the left of the building? Is that,
It's a concrete pad.
it's just a pad, okay. So there's just several of them around.
So just use, what, a pickup to bring the kegs in and what?
Yeah, forklifts.
So you park out front?
Yeah, the
And,
trucks will be able to get into this back driveway.
Yep.
When they maneuver the things around in the back of the building.
Yeah, I'm a little behind the game here, so they're all empty.
No,
No, they're
imagine-
full. I think
imagine
they're all
full.
They're full.
Yeah, I think they're full. They don't fill kegs at
Because
Bayside.
They're distributing the beer.
Oh, that's right, they don't.
But how do you provide security?
I just wish they were empty.
How do you keep them secure?
They're
Uh,
heavy.
Yeah.
They're kind of hard. to
Probably
walk away
not
with.
part of the site plan review.
They're also round and you can roll them out. I mean, I'm just, what do you do for security?
The whole property is,
Yeah, this is Eric Nickerson.
Oh.
What do you put?
So, along here, from the corner of the building, all the way along, it's fenced in.
Okay,
It's got gates, but you're within the fenced area.
okay.
Which are unfenced when the trucks bring them in, right?
There's a gate.
Correct, and there are loading docks on the front of the building.
So on the corner of this, where the fencing is, on the corner of this structure, is that in the event something happens, does the fire department have access in between those two buildings, or is that fence?
Yes, the fire department does have access. There's a gate, I don't know if it even locks on the far corner of the building. And we have left 20 feet between the primary building and the structure, so that we are meeting the IBC requirements as two separate buildings. Or what typically would be two separate buildings, it just makes it a lot easier for us when we
So where will you put your, device to pick up the kegs and move them around? Will that be stored there?
I believe that's inside the building, so where you see this hatching over here, this concrete pad, that's where the trucks back up to. Inside the building here is above grade. There is a ground level loading dock door somewhere on the back side of the building. I want to say where my pencil is. The forklift comes in and out, picks up kegs, goes back
Any other questions before we look at the waivers, waiver requests?
Would you like to do the waivers or Glenn's comments?
I think the waivers are the first two comments. They are.
Right.
Fair enough.
Never wanting to forget waivers.
What's that?
Never wanting to forget waivers.
No.
I tend to put them to the front. And so in essence, what the waivers are asking is for not being required to do any additional information regarding stormwater management, because we're not impacting stormwater management. And so there's,
There's asphalt before, and it'll be steel roof now.
exactly, exactly.
I know they're in the packet.
Does everybody have them? It looks like this.
What is an error of closure?
Well, that's the next one, but that's, because there's a survey associated with this plan, we require that there be an error of closure note next to where the licensed land surveyor has stamped, and they haven't placed one on this yet, but they'll do that.
Why is it called an error?
It-
That was my question.
It describes the degree to which there is exactness in the closure of the survey.
Okay,
And so there are professional standards that,
sort of plus or minus.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's minus a very tiny number.
Okay, so you have to be pretty precise.
Yes, yes, and
Well, that's-
that ensures the precision.
Okay, thank you, just a point of clarification.
Can be handled as a condition.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so the first waiver is from section 9.8.4.2 BE of the site plan review regulations to permit site plan approval without the final plan providing design calculations for temporary and permanent structure control measures. And as we were just discussing, because you're not changing the impervious surface. Any questions? Discussion?
Do
Comment?
we need to vote on each one?
Yes.
Each waiver individually.
I make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Any questions? All right.
The audience,
Oh. I think they're here for another
different things? Okay.
presentation.
For something else.
I can't see if there's anybody else back there. Yeah. All right, roll call vote.
Letty,
Aye.
do you have any questions?
Oh.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I've seen this presentation a couple times now.
Aye.
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 Letty?
Aye.
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 All right. So moved. Second waiver request, section 9.8.4.2BH of the site plan review regulations to permit approval without the final plan providing drainage calculations for volume, peak, discharge, and velocity of present and future runoff. Again, same
Same issue.
Glenn says it's okay, so I make a motion to
Any-
approve this.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All right, Ned, we'll start with you. Roll call.
Aye.
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 Lee?
Aye.
All right, so moved. Glenn, your other comments?
Yeah, so the next one is that we need an error of closure note. And then the plan needs two additional notes, one found at section 9.2.7 of the site plan regs that states that any change in tenancy of businesses included on the original site plan requires a written notification to the planning board. Now, this has been Bayside Distributing for a very long time. I don't expect that there's going to be a change in tenancy, but it's a requirement that we have, so we need to see that note. The second note is found at section 9.2.8 of site plan review, and it actually asks for detail about the IBC descriptive code for this, and it's not really a building, so I'm not even sure if there is one, but it is a requirement if there is a code that describes what this structure is. So if you find a code that describes what that is in the IBC, you're supposed to add that to a note as a. The fifth comment is there any lighting on the structure itself? I didn't see that.
Mounted on the roof structure?
Yeah. So there's presumably lighting that's attached to the back of the building.
Correct.
So that, and that isn't changing. So the answer is no, and then you don't have to show it, because you'd only have to show it if there was some. And then the applicant at the end of the process, when we're comfortable with the established plan, you have to submit an electronic form of the plan to the planning board.
So in other words, they can't put wine barrels instead of beer kegs.
No, they really could.
Oh, okay.
They really could. They distribute a lot of product, and that's gonna be used probably at some point for all of that product.
All right, can we do the next ones all together?
Yeah, they don't, they're really,
We don't have
correct,
to vote on
correct.
those? Okay,
all now you need to do is ask any other questions about the proposal. And
I don't have comments from TEC. I was in contact with Chris today. He could not get those together for this meeting. You could give a conditional approval, and one of the conditions would be to meet TEC's comments.
I mean,
Hard to do without knowing what they are.
there aren't
I know, it's
going
minimal.
to be any.
Yeah.
This is a really unusual site plan review, because it's so, if it wasn't close to the wetlands, we would have done this as an expedited site review. Just the planning board talking about it at one of their meetings. It wouldn't have even required a public hearing. But because of the closeness of the wetlands, it wasn't comfortable to do it that way.
Yeah, it's whatever the board's really comfortable with, but if you look at it this way, it's asphalt now, so your drainage calculations don't change, your runoff calculations don't change. All you're doing is putting a metal roof over a parking lot.
Yeah, no, I understand.
So I don't know what the comments could be. I think Glenn covered them, like, are they putting lighting on it? Are, and so from an environmental standpoint, they already have their variance granted.
Totally
Because of
get it.
its proximity to the wetlands. It is what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I mean, this has come up recently, I think, when we talk about the approving something in theory, without, we don't know, and I totally get this is a very straightforward, very simple. Those are probably the shortest comments I've ever seen from Glenn.
Perhaps.
He struggled to find comments, by the way.
But do you,
Double spacing?
but do you
It's a double
understand?
space.
Yeah, so there's just some hesitation on my part to say, we approve something pending something that we've never seen, because there could be, it's more of a precedent thing, or do you
have a timeline on that?
I was in close contact with him today. I sent him, I haven't written a letter yet approving that variance. Like, I just have to submit a formal letter. So what I submitted to him the plan of the variance, because that's probably his major comment was, is the variance.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he was trying to have him by the end of the day, and I was watching the
And just
computer,
sent it,
and I just didn't get them. I'm guessing they're gonna come in while over the weekend.
Yeah.
So I don't see any problem with them being at the next meeting at all.
Does that set you guys back at all, waiting for the comments to come back? And
The short answer is yes, it might.
Yeah.
Is anything reasonable notationally to the drawing? As we're talking
And
about,
we won't know that
it's a very
until they come.
basic
right.
request, and sure that we
Yeah. So if we went ahead and voted tonight conditionally pending those comments, but how would you resolve that? You would talk to them on Wednesday?
Yeah. Well,
Get
I'd
his
look at-
comments
I'd look at
and-
the comments. I mean, there's a 30-day period that they can't do anything from an approval anyway. And if Chris came up with something, because you never want to do a conditional approval if the planning board really is going to be involved in the decision-making. But what we're waiting for is guidance from our engineer, whose guidance we always take.
Right.
You know, so that it's not, we're not in a situation where we're waiting for information, say, from, I don't even know where else it would come from, but maybe even say we were waiting for information from the fire department.
Right.
The fire department, when they ask for things, it's often things that we don't ever judge on.
Just for context, that MTI is still sitting on my desk because it's waiting for a letter from the fire
Yeah.
department.
The fire department.
And they've been going back and forth about whatever they're going back and forth about. So it's not uncommon that we would give a condition of approval. They don't get that approval until they meet that condition.
That can-
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I guess it's for you too to know that it would be a conditional approval and whatever they come back with, you'd have to address and I guess
Yeah.
if there's a problem, come back.
It'll be administrative at this point. If they've done their snow load calculations wrong or,
We obviously don't know.
Yeah, I'd like to hear.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
that's the issue.
Is you honestly don't know.
Mhm. But nor do you know the issues that were on that MTI that the fire department is going round and round about. So, however you want to roll.
Fire code, we'd have to do it anyway.
Exactly.
Correct.
Outside of-
Mhm.
Right,
Correct.
right.
But I think it is important, the precedents, as you know, kind of referred to, and, it's just important to have all the information before we decide.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I'm leaning towards, the continuance, but would like to hear others' thoughts and,
The board meets every 2 weeks, so in this instance, I think because October is so long, is it actually 3 Thursdays?
I think it's November 7th. Yeah, November 7th.
Can I ask how long the reviewer has had?
A week.
17th, yeah, it is 3 weeks. Unfortunately, it's 2. Usually it's 2.
I tend to agree with Kristen.
Doug, you were.
yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say for what it's worth, based on what I've heard, I'm comfortable moving forward, but I'm obviously just one person.
We could also take a vote if you guys wanted to. If somebody wanted to make a motion to conditionally improve.
Yes, it went to the ZBA.
It already
first.
did.
Why didn't
yeah.
it happen?
If you want to talk about the conditions.
Construction within the wetland setback.
So it's in the setback?
Yes, it's not, it doesn't impact wetlands at all, but it does impact wetland setback.
How far is the wetland setback?
It's
75 feet, it's the yellow line here.
This,
It runs through,
through your building already?
but again, it's already paved.
another example of that this creates no different impact than what already existed out there.
So I've heard both sentiments from the board. So if somebody wants to make a motion and vote tonight, you're welcome to do that. Otherwise, we can
If you make that motion.
entertain a
there's-
motion to continue. Did you,
Letty have any comments?
Letty? Any-
Oh, I was gonna make the motion, but somebody else would have to wordsmith it for me.
To,
I make the motion that we conditionally approve this site plan.
was there something else that you wanted to say? It looked like, okay.
Yeah, so what's the trigger?
No, that was it.
It's gonna get a second, and then we'll talk about conditions, and then we can vote. But that motion needs a second by Letty.
I'll second the motion.
Can I just ask a question?
Mhm.
So conditional approval, what is the trigger?
We'll go over what those conditions
We're gonna
are.
go over those conditions right now before they vote.
But are
That's what we're gonna.
That would be
We are.
one of the conditions.
That's gonna be one part
One
of
of
the
the
condition.
He never gives comments.
Oh, he always, that would never happen.
You will get your comment.
That would never happen.
Yeah, okay, I've seen
Yeah, believe me, that would never happen.
I think what's happening right now is the best outcome that's going to happen for you.
Conditional approvals always have a date certain.
Yes.
We always do that.
Okay, so we had a motion and a second. So the conditions are to meet any issues raised in TEC's
Yep.
pending.
Resolving TEC comments, letter from the fire department.
The error of closure note. If there's an international building code.
All right, Glenn's, you're moving on to Glenn's?
I'm moving on to Glenn's, yes.
Okay. I'm just gonna go from my,
3, 4, and 6.
Glenn's number 3 comment, number 4 comment, and number 6.
Yes.
Yeah. As long as that's in the minutes.
Mhm.
And are we gonna say 1 and 2 were passed?
Yeah, we already voted.
Yeah,
on
we,
this.
yeah.
Yep.
You've got that.
We voted on 1 and 2.
He's already got the motions, I mean, the
and
waivers, so,
5 is
And they're already on
not
the plan.
applicable.
and they're already on the line.
All he has to do is say that they were actually approved on tonight's date.
Was there anything else? Did we miss anything?
No, just one more time, letter from the fire department, resolving TEC comments, and resolving Glenn's number 3, number 4, and number 6 comments from his letter.
In a time frame.
Well, he has 30
We typically
days.
either do 30, 60, or 90 days. I'm assuming you think you can get that done before 30 days, provided you have those comments quickly. So we'll make it for 30, and it doesn't, this is a conditional, so you would not have to come back to the planning board. As soon as the evidence is provided for those things, it happens, separate from the planning board meeting.
It could be as
correct.
early as next week.
When will that be?
Well, no, as soon as the TEC comments come back and they're able to sit down and resolve everything.
Right.
It doesn't have to be the,
I'm
at least
prob-
that's what we're voting on right now is
I'm
conditional.
probably gonna see those comments Monday morning, or by the latest midweek by Wednesday.
And Glenn's in on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Go.
Would you like a copy of Glenn's comments then? His packet's right at the end of the table if you just want to grab one. And it'd be the second page.
Yep.
All right, any other discussion on the motion?
Although, didn't you email those yesterday?
I
you
did email them to
did
2
you
spots.
email-
I did email them to this engineer and his, what's the,
And to Nick.
and to Nick, thank you.
Roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Letty?
Aye.
I'm a no, and not specific to this, but just as precedent and not super comfortable.
Aye.
And I'm kind of a process, no as well, so.
But the motion
Process of
carries,
it.
yeah. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
I would like to say I'm very happy that we are very careful about the wetlands.
Sorry,
And that was your TEC.
process. It's hard to
Yep.
prove something without seeing it. We do have a public hearing tonight on noticing, but we have guests, and we'll not make you guys wait any longer. If you want to pull up a chair, try to get close to the microphone. Oh, that's right, you have,
Yeah, I apologize, I had to unplug your computer from it. We're having technical difficulties setting up this meeting. I can plug it back in, that's all I'm saying.
yeah, that's fine.
Did you notice they spelled the name wrong about 3 times?
Oh, I didn't see
Once
that.
you got B. Marion over here, D. Marion. Got it right one place.
That's
Anyway,
funny.
Is
I was surprised. Just switch the N and the O.
All right, everybody, ready? Oh, she's still there.
Oh, wait, is that Marty Kennedy?
Oh, yeah, that was another one.
Okay, am I close enough? Is that working? That works. Okay, my name is Jim Hasher. I am the chair of the Cemetery Trustees, and tonight, myself and Joyce Kegel, who's the superintendent of cemeteries, are here to give you an overview of requirements for a future Brentwood Public Cemetery. I actually gave the same presentation to the Conservation Commission last week, and I'm giving it to the Select Board next week, just to try to get anyone who might have anything to do with this up to speed and engaged. Because to be honest with you, I don't think I really know fully how we create a new cemetery in town, because the last time VC was created, it was kind of donated, and but this will have to obviously start from scratch.
Can I just make a point of order? This wasn't on the agenda. I'm happy to hear about it, but does that matter?
No, because we're not taking a vote, we're not taking.
Oh,
any
okay.
action
Yeah.
either,
And
Okay,
But it's completely information.
yeah, unless somebody wanted to be here who wanted the information. That's all. Okay.
I am, yeah. Yeah, like I said, I did Conservation last week, you're tonight, and Select Board's next week. So, our current situation, Section 5 of the Tonry Cemetery is the only available cemetery space remaining in Brentwood. Of the roughly 530 4x10 lots that are available, only about 100 remain. And for the past 24 years, the town has sold on average 9 lots per year. So, a little easy math, we estimate that we have roughly 10 years left before we will run out of space for burials in Brentwood. Now, per New Hampshire RSA, every municipality shall provide or may enter into agreements with adjacent municipalities or nonprofit entities to provide one or more suitable cemeteries for the interment of deceased persons, which shall be subject to such regulations as the municipality may establish. The trustees, all of us, recommend that Brentwood establishes a new suitable cemetery, that we don't attempt to try to get into an agreement with someone else. It just makes it much more difficult. And to be honest, people who want to be buried in Brentwood cemeteries want to be buried in Brentwood. They don't want to buy a lot in Exeter or Fremont or something through the town of Brentwood. That's how we feel. So, okay, so we wanted to come up with, well, how much land do we need for this new cemetery? The current Tonry is it's 5 acres. But we wanted to estimate for ourselves how much land would we actually need. So there's a lot of math here, and I'm not going to go through all of it with you, but roughly if you have an acre, I wanted to normalize it to 1 acre just to figure out how many lots could we put in 1 acre, then we would know how long that would last, and then we could say, well, if we want it to last under 50 years, this is how much space we need. So on an acre, you have a perimeter road, you have a road going down the middle. It leaves you with 2 usable areas, roughly 81 by 174 feet. So roughly 70%, if you have an acre of land, of just cleared land, 70% of it can be used for burials. The rest is kind of access space, right? Next page. So now, okay, how many lots can you get into that usable space? Again, if you have those 2 usable areas of 28,180 square feet, well, then that 1 acre can accommodate about 497 standard 4x10 lots. That's a burial lot where you put an actual casket, a person. And then, or 1 acre could accommodate 923 cremation lots. Cremation only, meaning only cremains can be buried there. That's why, and of course it's a smaller lot. And the different, I'm listing plots and lots here. I'll just talk lots, but a plot is 4 lots. So if you look at these diagrams, you can kind of see those are plots, and each of the plots, you have 8 plots. Each of those plots is has 4 lots in it, and there's a 3-foot buffer space between them. So again, so in New Hampshire, we have a cremation rate of about 80% right now, which is, I think they told us, Joyce, right, that we're still about the highest in the nation. The rate for the US is somewhere between 50 to 60%. So we used in our calculations a mix of 60% cremation only and 40% standard burial rates. Because again, you can fit more cremation only lots in the same space, right? And then later you could always convert if we had to, if we needed more standard lots. Sure, yeah.
On the plot, with 4 lots in the plot, do we still allow for well, we allow for full burials, but do we still allow multiple cremations where the full burial is?
Yeah.
How many?
So on each 4x10 lot, you can have 1 casket with up to 4 cremations on top of that casket. If you're having just cremations, you can have 4 to 6 cremations per each 4x10 lot.
And on the cremation lot that you're showing here, how many, you allow 4 cremations?
Think of the 4x4 cremation lots, from what I'm seeing, is just 2, because what you're gonna be doing then is strictly flat stone. There will be no headstone. So on a 4x4 lot, you could get 2 at least. It would really be all management, because we don't wanna take up all your land with stones. But I think most of the places I've looked at, and probably Doug, you could back me up on this, a 4x4 is usually only 2.
Yeah, and the standard lots are in the rules and regs right now. I believe cremation only, Joyce, we haven't finalized that yet. Yeah, we have not, right, our rules and regs, did we already put it in? Did we put it in the latest? I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't think we've technically voted on, but that's roughly,
And
we
on-
don't have it right now.
And just a curiosity factor, on the cremation lot themselves, are you going to allow upright monuments or strictly flat markers?
Like I said, I don't,
Strictly flats, no
yeah,
uprights
we
on a
definitely
cremation
have
lot.
that now, yeah.
Okay,
Thanks, Joyce.
thanks, Joyce.
We always have to have Joyce here.
Oh, absolutely.
And also, you don't have buildings, right? I don't know what they call them, not mausoleums or anything, but you don't have any like family building.
Oh, like vaults?
Yeah, or whatever.
We don't have that now.
You don't have any of that.
And, yeah, I don't think we're planning on that, at least not in this. This was just talking about here, yeah.
So if you have a casket, you can have an upright stone, but if you have a cremation, you have to have a flat stone.
Cremation only lot.
So if you have a 4x10 lot, you can have a headstone
Yeah.
and a footstone. But if you have a 4x4, because it's just the nature of where they are and how they're arranged, we only want to put flat markers, because otherwise you're going to have a quilt, basically.
Correct. Does that make sense, Liz? Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. Good on that slide?
Yep. Thanks.
So again, now I'm just taking that 60-40 cremation only and 40% standard. Now that 1 acre basically can accommodate 196 standard lots, 4x10s, or 552 cremation, 4x4 lots. And if you use those assumptions, 1 acre will have a total of 748 lots available for burial, right? That's just the 196 plus the 552. And again, using that 9 lots per year average, 1 acre would last about 83 years. We, the trustees, if we're gonna go through this process now, we would like to assure that we get at least 150 years out of this next cemetery. So we're recommending that the town at least have 2 acres of suitable space in that for a future cemetery. And then I'll just end this. What we had was, and to be honest, these 3 lots were shared with the cemetery trustees a while ago. And I don't remember if we got it from conservation or from you folks, but we were given 3 lots that the town of Brentwood owns. It said, well, are these would these be possible cemetery locations? Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped 1 slide. I'm sorry. This last slide is just, we validated our estimates. So this was looking at the existing Tonry Section 5. And in that Section 5, it's 7/10 of an acre. And we know on our map, there's roughly 424 available standard lots. We used our calculations for this square footage, and it came out to be 494. So they're really close together, which we just wanted to make sure that those estimates that I shared with you, that our calculations that we were plugging into our Excel spreadsheets were correct. And again, the numbers came out pretty close, and I think actually the reason why it's off by 30 is because the current area doesn't have a walkway going all the way down through that second court, like that bottom quadrant. It's all grass there, so. But anyways, this slide, I just wanted to make sure, we validated our estimates using the current remaining section 5 of Tonry and came up with just about the same numbers. And now I'll jump to the three parcels that were shared with us. This first one is off of Lightford Lane. It's 5.3 acres. Again, it's pretty residential, right? There's houses all around it.
I don't think that
I
would be
just
well
think-
receptive.
I just think even if those people are dying off there, that's not the lot that you want.
There you go. So
Could be a great movie.
the second one, again, this is on Russo Lane, or for some reason the lot has the name Old Danville Road. It's 6.2 acres, but basically this is like the bottom of this lot is Kingston, and it's like we'd have to have a right of way through people's yards. And I think conservation told us that they're actually using this as a conservation area. So again, I don't think this is really a good one. The last one that was shared was this one on Scrabble Road, and it's 5 acres. You can see from the picture, it kind of is close to Route 125, which is nice. It abuts those, you can see like boats and trade campers. That's the storage unit facility that's right on 125, kind of near where the law office is there, So honestly, out of the 3 cemetery trustees, we looked at these, we go, well, we think this one would probably be the best for as far as a location. But again,
What is that zone?
the same, RA, I have it on there, so is that what you mean? Yeah. But I think they told us at conservation that it didn't matter, that when you make that in terms of a cemetery.
Chris,
But
does that matter with the state?
yeah, right, exactly. That's why I'm on the board.
There's
I'm-
no
I'm just-
wetland, right?
I don't believe so.
Do you know, the town, and I don't know if this is an appropriate place, but the town owns land around the library? I thought like a 2-acre. I don't know, it's not big enough. They were talking about it being big enough for a home lot. So.
That's really not an appropriate place to put it because of the traffic. It would just be too congested between the library, and if you're doing a funeral there, do you really want to have a funeral next to a library?
Well, there's a piece of property that's off of 111A.
Yep, on the left, headed towards Exeter.
You know the one. Right now, it's just a hayfield.
And it's the easement says that it has to stay as a mowed hayfield, and it cannot have any permanent structures. We've gone through that one, and that one is not on the table.
Yeah, conservation.
They said, was that a donation to the town of Brentwood?
I do believe it was.
And there was a stipulation
Yeah,
to that?
George, BYEA, I think was his. He donated to the town with the contingency that it is paid every year.
Paid.
Well, a gravestone's not a permanent structure.
It
It is?
Yeah.
I would think it would be, and I would think it would
Well-
get in the way of a hayer.
But I'm not sure of the size
a
of
big
that
way.
parcel.
Well, hopefully there wouldn't be hay if there were
Doug,
gravestones.
Doug,
Just to clarify for the Scrabble Road location, just for, so where is this in proximity to to the homes on Scrabble Road?
So, like I said, wish I can't zoom out, but those boats that you see in motorhomes is the back of the storage unit
On
facility.
the left side of the image?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah. Right here,
Okay.
right? This is the back. So storage units are here, 125 is right.
Okay,
So you're pretty
gotcha.
close to 125.
right.
their houses at the front part, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a house here.
Is it visible from 125 if you're driving, or is it?
No.
No.
No,
No, you
no.
can't even see the back of that.
And again, I don't,
People might have feelings about that.
like, we don't, it's not like a decision we have to make this evening or anything like that. To be honest with you, I think what Joyce and I and the trustees are actually trying to do is just make sure that we get this awareness that, look, we have 10 years, but, you know, time goes by, and I'd rather get on it now because it's gonna cost us money too, right? And cemetery trustees, we have no money for this, so like, we gotta prepare for it, and we're hopeful that perhaps we get the message out, and you folks, maybe like now, you're saying, hey, what about this property, what about that? Because we're open right now, and I think what we'd like to do is probably by end of first quarter next year, something like that, springtime, at least decide where we want to do this, right? And hopefully it's a town-owned property, so we don't have to spend any money on it. But then once we know, and we kind of all as a community decide, okay, that's the lot where we want to do it, then I think the cemetery trustees will take it from there in terms of figuring out, okay, because I'm sure we're going to have it checked to see, like, make sure there's no ledge for one thing, right? And other issues that could possibly prevent this. And there's companies out there that will have somebody come in, and we'll have to have somebody just check it out to make sure that it's going to work as a cemetery. And then if it does, great. And then we'll take it to the next step of trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to do this? Because, like I said, we're talking about we need 2 acres to start. But if the lot was bigger, perhaps we clear a little bit, we clear it all at one time, and then just have for future trustees, like maybe someday they want to do a scattering area or something like that. There's other, there's things that are coming down the pike that'll just be future type expansion. So at this point, it's strictly just to let you all know, get the word out there, and like I said, work with us on the cemetery. If there's other parcels that you know of, maybe you let us know so that we could start like whittling it down to what do we think is maybe the best one, and try to get that out to everybody.
Joyce made, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It'd be a wonderful idea to work with conservation, because they're placing this land in conservation, and maybe you could say, oh, there's a little 2-acre piece over here that would be perfect for our needs. Great walking trail, you can go visit loved ones, walking trail. So I think incorporating that into their conversation and putting that on their radar, they might be able to find
That's why
something.
I went to them first. They saw this.
Yeah, I think that's a thing that can definitely go together and work together for a whole picture of what a cemetery should be.
There are a lot, I don't know how many, you maybe have already done this, but there are a lot of parcels of Brentwood land.
Mhm.
Have you guys looked at a lot or just a few? Like, I know you have the 3 or 4 here, but.
I know, like, all we've looked at, especially for these 3.
But who provide, like,
I know, like, there's one about the hayfield that's been mentioned to us before.
Okay.
There was
okay,
one mentioned about the site road, but there's really no access to it, and the conservation people, they actually have that earmarked for
The one-
Split rock, you're not talking
Who,
about that.
no, I'm not
yeah,
talking about-
who,
It was
who
The-
gave you the list? Because we have
Yeah,
talked
that's
about
what
this
I'm waiting-
before,
yeah.
about trying to put together an inventory of what the town owns, because the other thing that we've talked about in some far-off future, if there's any possibility that the town could help with alleviating some of the housing issues. And so I was also under the impression there were more parcels.
There's a
and
lot.
that
There are a
would
lot.
be
It
the
might be little, but
only-
there's a lot.
That would be my only other thought on a couple of these, is that they look like nice residential potential parcels. So trying to find that sweet spot where it's a good use for a cemetery and doesn't, yeah, so we're all kind of working, we all have related objectives and find the right spot.
The other thing I'd be really careful of is, I know this has come up before, like, can some of the money used for conservation easements be cemetery? And I think those are 2 separate things, so I'm totally opposed to that.
Yeah,
That's just my
I don't remember
personal-
exactly what was voted on, but it doesn't seem like that would,
They're not the same.
You
I
could
don't think it
easily-
would be approachment.
I'm not saying that they have to buy the land, but if you
No, no,
find
no,
the
I
land
know.
that wants to be placed in conservation, you can cut out a piece and
Yeah,
sell
yeah,
it in
that's
a
fine.
totally different manner.
you get creative and trade, if you find a property and the town could make a trade so that, you have the
Trade,
right thing and a land use
Swap.
swap.
that that would kind of violate if somebody gives a piece of property and says, only this can happen.
No, I'm
you
not
can't
talking
change
about, I'm not talking about conservation land. I'm talking about
Oh.
if there's, you know, hypothetically, a 2 or 3 acre piece of property somewhere, and somebody wanted to trade the town for a different piece of property,
Oh,
that's,
okay.
could do something like that.
Mhm.
Did you have?
I mean, it's really great that you're doing this, because honestly, if you get the word out, it's great that you're looking at town-owned properties, but sometimes people bequeath things when they're,
Totally,
Something-
totally agree with that.
I
Yeah.
think that a lot of towns get cemetery property through bequests, so, and if people don't know, it's never going to happen.
And Joyce,
No, go ahead.
Joyce had made mention about a year and a half ago about this situation, and I concur thoroughly, because even though you may have 100 lots available now, and you've got 10 years on that spectrum, and you can have multiple cremations on these lots, 10 years goes by quick. All these towns in our area are having difficulty with cemeteries. Pre-planning is just the way to go. It's important, as Glenn just mentioned, that the board is looking at that, all these boards are looking at it. And even though it sounds like a long time, this is probably a sense of urgency with getting this done, especially if there's requirements by the cemeteries, residents only, that type of thing. Yeah, we're growing, we're not getting smaller. So it's important that it's looked at, and I commend both of you for doing it.
I applaud you guys too.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I'm lucky, we're fortunate. We have a really good board, and obviously we have an outstanding superintendent who makes things happen, so, yeah, thank you.
Mark, I have a question. I've only seen the town properties listed, you know, like,
Here's a super easy way for everybody to go see what the town of Brentwood owns.
yeah, I know it's listed, but is there,
No, wait, let me
Okay,
finish.
okay.
Let me finish. If you go on the Town of Brentwood website, I'm gonna do it now. You click on GIS mapping, and in the search engine, you just put like Town of Brentwood, and it should come up with the property tax cards and pins all over the map that are owned by the Town of Brentwood. If that's how they're listed by owner.
okay. So is it a visual, like a picture? I can see a picture of it
You will
as
see a
opposed to
map
a
of-
list? Because I've
Lap
seen the
of-
list.
You can just click on each individual one.
Okay, and it's called GIS mapping?
GIS mapping.
Mapping. Oh, that's great, because I have a great one of the conservation areas.
And you will
So-
find that GIS map, once you get, you can add layers to it. Once you get used to using it, it's a free tool, like everybody can use it. And you can look up tax cards. That's how I find your property tax cards and your numbers. You come into my office and you say, you can do it by name, you can do it by street address. There's a bunch of different ways you can put up that search engine.
Okay,
And then
that's
it will
super.
start putting pings on the map, little tabs and pings.
No,
And then you could hover over the ping and click on it, and it will zoom right
that's
into
super,
it.
because
I
just the
think,
list.
yeah,
Mhm.
I think the missing piece then is, which maybe you know, or somebody else can go through and say, oh, but this one's restricted, this one's earmarked for, this one, you know, like which ones are left after you take out.
There's a lot of information in that tax card, but it won't give you the deed restrictions. So sometimes in your property files, you will find the actual deed. Sometimes you won't. Sometimes you have to go down to Rockingham County.
Somebody probably knows all of that. Off the top of their head, I'm guessing.
Probably, she's like a savant.
That would be like a cool thing to plan to do in the future, maybe.
Yes,
Just to know the restrictions.
we should.
Just to let you know, if a land is already in conservation, it's really kind of off the table, because it's really hard to change an
No, I know,
easement
yeah, I
once it's
don't-
already in conservation.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about town specifically. Yeah.
You come down and spend the day with me.
Yeah, I will. When you're, sometime when you have nothing to do, which won't be anytime soon.
Unfortunately, I'm super busy.
No,
All
I
right,
think it's
thank you,
fascinating. It'd be
guys.
fun to know.
Sorry we didn't have you on the agenda.
Thanks. No,
Thanks.
thank you. No, I think it got sent to me. put it as 10 a.m.
Thank you.
And I replied and then didn't think about it again.
I was just working on a agenda 30 days ago.
All right. We are now opening a public hearing to consider changes to the subdivision and site plan review regulations regarding public hearing notification. And we talked about this a little bit before. Mark brought this to our attention because we don't really have a good option anymore for printed legal notice. And it makes sense to, and the law changed, right? Or we need to.
Yes, I did.
The law
Thanks,
changed.
Joyce.
And so now we can update our ordinances to public, notification to the public shall conform with the law, and then we can use other means besides
The newspaper.
the newspaper, which
So,
doesn't exist.
I put in your packet the 2 pieces of legislation that we are going to remove. And in your front cover, you'll see the legislation we're going to put it in its place. And the new legislation basically states that we can take all site plan reviews and instead of noticing them in a newspaper, we can notice them on the front home screen of our website. So it will save me from having to have things put in a newspaper. Instead, we can put them on the home page of our website. But the legislation's pretty clear that it has to be when you first click on your web page for your town, that it is on the first page that you can see.
Do any other towns do that currently?
Tons of them.
Yeah, who wouldn't?
Kingston does.
I think it's a no-brainer to say that many more people click on the Town of Brentwood's webpage than subscribe to the Union Leader. I think there's much more of a sight by the actual townspeople of Brentwood.
But you can't subscribe, you can't get the Union Leader even delivered to your house.
Yeah.
But you can get, so Letty, I think you talked with Mark a little bit about this and our ability to put it on the front page. And then is that something somebody could subscribe to? So you know how you can click and get notices of updates from the town website? Would this be an option? Like, please send me every legal notice? Or maybe it already is?
Yeah, if somebody, it might be. I'm not sure if it is, but it could be if it's not already.
So if somebody's watching developments in town, they could subscribe to that and get.
Does it
notified
also have to be
automatically.
put someplace else, like in the town out here?
I will still have a requirement to post a legal notice 12 days prior
Okay.
to the meeting in 2 different places, and that will be the front board of the town hall, and I also take one down in the notice board on the library.
Okay.
Those will still stand. Now, even with this change of legislation, Glenn, help me out here, I will still have to notice in the paper digging, zoning changes,
Any excavation
ordinances,
and any scenic road activity.
scenic road activities. So that's something that I would like to bring before.
Oh, and zoning board, because
And zoning, it doesn't apply to the ZBA either.
we can't do this.
It's a slow creep
they
of
cannot.
goodness here.
But that's the one that the law needs to change, the state law needs.
All of those, the state law needs to change. So that's something I would like to work with the legislator to get that legislation moving forward.
And after the election, there'll be a period where legislators can file that bill.
I think it's a very good way of,
Melissa.
if you're a legislator, an elected official, to get some legislation going, then I don't think you'll have any problem passing. I don't see a problem getting it passed.
Right, yeah, agreed.
So the nice thing about what's proposed is that it just says it will follow the law. So it's, if the law changes, we haven't tied ourselves to any really specific thing. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, objections?
I would hope not.
No, I don't.
No, it sounds like a very
I would hope not.
We've talked about this before in
Yes.
detail, and I let you know that this was something that I was.
Well,
gonna come
Jillian
forward.
had started this. she and I talked about this, and then the select board stole her. And it slipped through the cracks, so now we're doing it.
All right. And no public comment this evening.
Public comment, no?
No
Nope.
one's here. All right.
You do need to take, make a motion.
Yeah.
A
Can we
second?
A second to
do them
adopt.
together?
Yes, it's all in one
in
motion.
One vote?
But we don't have any new language, or is the new language here?
Yeah, where it says in both instances, new sections should read, notification to the public shall conform to NHRSA 6757,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I, B,
B.
1, 2, and 3. The I or L?
Wait, where am I,
Hard to
where
say.
is that, what you just read?
On the agenda.
It's on the front page.
Most of the way down.
Oh, okay. Because I see it in the,
Right, it will go in those
it
places.
will go in those places, yeah, that's what
I
I,
was
The
gonna make a
language.
separate page, but then I
The
said, why am I wasting paper?
course
I've
will
already
be
printed it once.
okay. It says, yeah, but it doesn't say what. New
You-
section should read notification shall conform to, but it doesn't say, okay,
You'd have to look up that
Yeah,
particular
yeah.
RSA.
okay.
Does someone want to make a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any
Ed?
final comments? Roll call?
I'm gonna abstain because I think it's just too, I mean, I agree with what you want to do, but it's just not clear because you can't read it.
Would you like a zoning book?
No, it's okay. I'm just gonna
So
abstain.
you would rather vote no than read it?
I'm not
No,
voting
she's
no, I'm
abstaining.
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 Yeah,
Um,
abstaining.
We have a book?
It's okay.
All right. Doug?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Letty?
I,
Aye.
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 All right, motion carries. Thank you, Mark, for doing that. Appreciate it.
Just for clarification, or if we have this kind of thing come up
Mhm.
again, I would like to say,
You'd like to see
this
the
one,
language?
yeah, this one. blah,
Well,
blah,
I
blah.
did send this out many weeks
No,
ago.
I know,
And
but
if
I don't
you
want
had
us to
any,
look it up.
I'm in the middle, thank you. If
It's only
you had
like
any
seven.
ambition, you could have picked up the book that
I
you were
know.
given and you could have read it and understood it in its full context. And after the,
Agenda too.
it,
Yeah, no,
The agenda, right?
yeah, but
All right,
see
no
how you
need
have the
to-
one saying,
Just saying.
Yes,
you understand what I'm saying?
I do understand what you're saying. Yes.
Good
Um,
points.
Okay. We need a continuance for plan changes for Northam Survey, 227 South Road. Do we have a date?
I do not have a date as of yet. They are going before the conservation. I think it's November 6th. It's right before our planning. They've got to go through conservation first, and they only meet once a month. So I think it's going to be, they
Well, we
might
can-
be,
Well, we can continue it to our meeting on November 7th.
I-
And
And then if we
if
need
they're
to.
not comfortable, if they don't think they have enough time, they can ask us to do it to the,
I think 7th would be fine if you want to continue it to that date.
Okay,
And when that date comes around, if they need more time, we can just continue it again.
sounds good. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to continue Nordham Survey LLC until November 7th.
Second.
at 7 o'clock.
At 7 o'clock. Thank you.
PM.
Roll call, Letty?
Do I have a second?
Brian.
I,
Brian?
Oh.
Seconded.
Yeah, I seconded. I did.
You did,
Really?
Bert?
Now
I
say-
did.
yeah.
Okay.
Now say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Yes,
Roll
I mean, that's
call.
the one I have to recruit you, so.
Oh,
I
that's
don't know,
right,
but
sorry.
I can, for the meeting, I can say it, whichever you prefer.
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Aye. Brian?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, we had a letter about meat sales in a parking lot. I saw this when you sent it out. I was not sure what
What? Meat
What?
sales.
our.
Meat had to do with tractors.
Get your ribeyes.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm like, get your ribeye.
Keeping in mind,
They call,
Oh, I'm going to Tractor Supply.
They-
they call, I put it on the schedule, folks.
Oh, hot steaks is in the parking lot.
I don't have a, but let's all keep in mind that we are streaming and being recorded. And
Yeah.
Glenn, do you have any advice for us on this.
Over the years, there have been times when the board has allowed sort of similar activities as to this. We allowed a hot dog person to.
Is this just a
locate-
one-day thing?
I'm not sure if he was gonna be there one day or 2 days.
I think he's there for the weekend.
It sounds like, yeah, it
Oh,
sounds like a
weekend.
chunk of time.
Once-
16th, which has already gone by.
It says once,
The 21st.
once dates are confirmed and approved, I would need to obtain a town license and permit.
I don't know about that, right?
He would need to. This would constitute the permit.
Yeah, right.
If we allowed him to
Because
locate
this-
on this property. Do we have anything from Tractor Supply saying they're okay with this?
No, we talked, he called, you gave him my email, he sent me this, and I asked you, what do I do with this, Glenn? You said,
I
put
said,
it on
bring
the
it to the board.
agenda. We're gonna
So-
talk to the board about it.
So is this, should this request come from the property owner, not?
We would
This
have
is-
to have something from the property owner.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
This is not
To
uncommon.
allow it. Well, I mean, from a historical point, we've done similar things. A little, usually there's a closer connection, like we allowed a taco lady to locate where Bessie's was.
But you're talking food vendor.
Yeah.
Yes.
We had a coffee
Yes.
place out in front of,
In front of Shelter Enterprise.
Gentile, but yeah.
So that was a bit of there wasn't much similarity there between the uses
Mhm.
that were on site and that coffee truck.
But we have allowed
So this says,
pop-ups.
So we've done
but
it before.
have you heard from him since he emailed you? Because this is this weekend, are the dates he had in mind. And if we go back and say this should really come from the property owner, you're looking, we're not meeting again for 3 weeks, so I don't really know there's nothing we can do.
I provided a picture.
You did provide a picture. I mean, you could, if the concern is getting a letter from the owner, we could simply say that. We could say, you do have permission if you give us evidence that the owner is okay with this.
I have another concern. And granted, I understand food trucks, most of them are insured. In the event something happens, I guess we don't always check that. But, you see shrimp people on the side of the road selling shrimp. This gentleman's going to be selling ribeye. In the event we allow this and he's not insured, do we have a line out the door looking for if something should happen, listeria or something of that nature, food being bad, and are we going to be held responsible for that?
Wouldn't that be the responsibility of the landowner?
It would be the responsibility of the landlord.
Okay.
And I would think that would be a concern to the landowner, but maybe I presume he's talked to these people before he talked to us, but
But we don't know.
We don't know
We
that.
don't have.
we don't know.
Didn't he say that there were like other Tractor Supply locations that they were doing this? at?
Yeah, that's what he
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
We'd have to
Oh,
read the letter.
Who knows, yeah.
Right, I'm not
But
saying.
also,
yeah.
I'm worried about the precedent, so we have, at the tractor place, we have ribs, at the auto mechanic place, we have french fries, I don't know, I'd like to table it for more information.
Didn't you say
Something.
it's only gonna be 2 days?
No, they said the 16th, which has already gone by, to the 21st. Yeah.
Oh, but it's not gonna be all season, anything like that.
Well, we don't know, maybe it'll be a smashing success.
And we don't have an ordinance or permits for things like
Hawkers and peddlers.
pop-ups.
Well, there's a
of-
state license for hawkers and peddlers, but that's for someone who comes into a town and sells something without a set location. So that permit doesn't apply here. He wants to be at a set location.
Mm.
Yeah, you go door to door, you get a hawkers and
Right.
peddlers license, but he's not going door to door. He's outside of one door.
I mean, I feel like there should be, he should be paying something too for this, paying either the town or Tractor Supply. I don't know, I mean,
Yeah.
just,
Oh, he may be.
right?
He may be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's the
I would
guy's brother,
assume
Is it-
Tractor Supply would not let him be there
No,
for free.
correct. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm certain that they wouldn't. And Yeah,
A
I mean,
little
it's
odd.
it's an odd thing, but it happens all over the place.
Yeah.
And the times that we've asked the police department, they've always been concerned if the site is a traffic concern. And this is at a parking lot where you've come on, you exit the street in a very safe manner with a permit that was granted by New Hampshire DOT, and it's on a site where there isn't that sort of public safety issue. This is really whether the town is interested in this kind of activity happening in town. Some towns absolutely just don't want to see this kind of thing.
So where does the need come from?
And I somewhat beg to differ on, I mean, in terms of that's kind of a tough, in
Yeah.
and out.
But it's
that
approved.
Traffic, so, that.
I've never had a problem, but
For me,
but I've only
I
been
just
there a
kind of
couple
feel like
times.
there's some blind
There-
spots and.
There is traffic calculations, and that those were all done before Tractor Supply went in. And there was also talk of the property that was going to be used near Tractor Supply, and they were going to share a driveway with Tractor Supply.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that,
it was
I think it's more, just to your point, I think it's more that you have a big sign and people decide at the last second to make a turn that they wouldn't normally make.
I don't,
That to me could be a concern on
The other thing that's
125.
weird is this letter is dated 10/9, which was last week. So this seems like to have already approved it by the 16th, which was 2 days ago or a day ago. I mean, it seems like.
No,
that-
you clearly don't work with a lot of business people who believe that their business plan is everyone's business plan.
Well, I would
So-
either like to table it for more information or.
Yeah, I mean,
down,
I guess
vote down.
Are we interested in more information, or do we just want to say, this isn't a practice that the town is interested in? You can, if the town has concerns, and let me tell you, of my 4 towns, 3 of them don't think these are a good idea at all.
Yeah.
And they say, you have to do an amended site plan. That always sends them away, because they don't
So
want
you're,
to
you're looking for
for
a
the
vote.
cost of an amended site plan.
That's what I said. Where's this guy get his meat?
I mean,
I have no
it
idea.
should,
I don't know.
it should,
his phone number is attached.
it should come from the
He's a backyard
owner.
butcher. He could come
I
cut it up for you too.
mean, I haven't given this a ton of thought, and we haven't surveyed the town to see how they feel about these kinds of things, but I don't think we need any more distractions on 125. That's where I'm leaning.
I'm agreed. I'm also uncomfortable with the fact that it's not coming from the Tractor Supply people. It just, it's,
It's a vendor.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's nothing nefarious, but it is weird, and I
It is
think that-
it's within the board's right to just say, this is a change of use at Tractor
Yeah.
Supply.
I don't want to make it a blanket thing, like if we change, in the future, if something comes along.
It's something that you
Sense.
like.
Like something, no, I like ribeye. but I'm
Well,
just saying,
I guess if this,
it's bizarro. And it's last minute. And
it's either what we just talked about, which is we consider this a change of use, you need to change your site plan, or I would think we'd need some kind of process to approve these kind of short-term things. And this is, at this point at least, meeting neither one of those
You
things.
set a precedent.
It's kind of,
And
yeah.
guidance on the liability aspect.
Yeah,
of it,
yeah.
Too,
No.
just in terms of, for
Because some,
botulism or, something, comes back.
That wouldn't be our.
some towns,
I understand, but you know that for sure?
Yes.
some towns license food
Yes,
trucks,
I do.
right?
There's no liabilities to
I
the
mean,
town whatsoever.
if that's something we wanted to encourage, we could create a process for people to apply to get a 1 week,
Locate food trucks someplace in town.
right.
Mhm.
We don't have that. We could do that,
But that's not gonna help this.
but that's not gonna help
No.
this guy. No, I feel like we don't have any process in place, other than the site plan review process, which this doesn't meet the criteria for.
And it's just not enough time.
Yeah, I don't think we should reward somebody who waited this long to even ask. I mean, if it, like, this came in on the 9th,
Right, it came in last Wednesday.
that's,
I put it on the next available schedule that I could get it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I did my
It came in
best
last
to
Wednesday.
Yeah.
facilitate
Date at
this.
the ninth.
That's fine.
And honestly, I don't know if he hasn't sent it to half a dozen different towns.
Right.
You don't know
According to
that.
this, 200.
He may.
No.
That's what it says.
All right. Unless,
I make a motion to deny the request.
Current, yeah.
Would be my motion.
Second,
okay, I don't think we need to vote, but we can vote.
That-
Well,
now-
it's easier to.
Have it on the record.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, and because it would require an amendment to the site plan review.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
There you go.
perfect.
but do we have
That-
to say that, or can we just say?
Yeah, that is best to say,
Okay,
because
Okay.
it lets them know what the process is.
Yeah.
A
You can
site
still-
plan would be needed.
Yeah,
Site-
an
yeah, new
amendment to the site plan.
Yep, a revision.
Did you get that? Second?
Motion to deny based on a site plan will be needed.
A new
Ned.
site plan would be needed.
Yep,
correct.
Ned, Liz.
Yep.
All right,
Perfect.
roll call?
yes, aye.
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 Ned?
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain.
Aye. Letty?
I,
I mean, if that's something, you know, like economic development wanted to take up, we
Yeah,
want
I
to,
agree.
we want to see this kind of activity in town, they could make a proposal to do that. Okay,
We don't
Kinda
see it
fun.
very often.
Yeah.
yeah,
No, we don't.
it's
We don't
probably
see
not
Not
worth
many,
it.
many places you can eat, so. it might
Okay.
be a best-
It's really not worth the trouble.
All right,
Prices start to shift.
check. Budgeting, so question, Glenn, you were gonna talk to TEC to get an updated quote to look at our road.
Yeah, I sure haven't done that.
Okay, can you do that? We need to get that, settled. We have money in our budget for sure to pay for that. And then somebody else was going to, I think it was staff, check on
Oh,
the,
check with Marty Kennedy.
yeah.
Marty, yeah. Oh, it is the Marty Kennedy.
That makes sense.
I presented our 2025 budget this week to the select board, in which they approved. What's that? I'm sorry, Mark and I presented the 2025 budget to the select board, which they
Don't
approved.
be Mr. Sensitive Pants.
And Mark did a
I'm
very
the guy
nice
who wrote
job.
it.
We're keeping, it's everything that we've already talked about. I did have an estimate for how much money I think we'll have left this year, accounting for the microphones. I gave a decent amount for the roads. Yeah,
Explain
I
the
think
roads thing to me again. I'm sorry, I'm not.
our road requirements, however you describe those, are like 25 or 30 years old.
Oh, this is for the,
Reviewed
Master
by town
plan.
engineer
oh,
No,
Of our road standards.
standards, yeah.
so it's not capital improvement plan? or
No.
anything like that,
No.
it's just
Does
required.
that tie into the master plan?
No.
No.
No?
Ordinances.
Just, you just, okay.
Okay. I know we have a couple other things to talk about, so we can also talk about budget more later. Tiny Lane RCP pipe conversation.
Yeah.
Do you want to give the overview of the situation?
The situation is, it appears that instead of using reinforced concrete pipes for culverts within the town's right-of-way, for driveways at Tanya Lane, they've used ADS plastic pipe. And that doesn't meet our standard. And so Bruce would like the planning board to authorize me to write a letter to TEC to explain why that was allowed, why they were allowed not to follow our road construction standards to what Bruce considers to be, and he's right, a detriment to the town. Plastic pipe is not as wearing and as durable as reinforced concrete pipe. That's why we have a standard for reinforced concrete pipe. It is much more expensive.
especially to rip it up.
Well, Bruce would like that to be the case. We should talk to our consultant first.
Yeah.
To get a better handle on why this happened. Because the plans.
Sure.
The plans show that they've used our standard cross-section. Now, the cross-section itself doesn't say reinforced concrete pipe, but the description of the cross-section in our standards does. So if you're using the cross-section, the assumption is it's attached directly to our standards. There are two notes on the plan. One seems to say they will follow the requirements of the town, and the other note on the plan specifically says they intend to use ADS plastic pipe.
Right.
So they may very well strongly push back against making any changes because it's going to be expensive.
So is this on the driveways?
Driveways.
Not the
But
road, the
But
driveway.
the actual work is it's where the driveway meets the town road.
Right.
And so it happens in the right of way, which is town property.
And that applicant submitted a waiver to use.
Request.
Hmm?
A waiver request.
A waiver request, submitted a waiver request to use plastic pipe, and then they withdrew that waiver because they said they were going to use the ABS on private property. Now, they have a large drainage swale. I sent you all a link to all the stuff that's in that file, and I've added more stuff to the file, including these minutes that I've handed you. So that's okay for them to use the ABS on their own property, on private property. But they were not supposed to use it in the driveway configurations. And in that file that you have a link to, there's also pictures. I took pictures. They're clearly in the right of way. And they knew they were if you read these minutes, the engineer clearly states that he knew that.
So the first step is to get some feedback from our consulting engineer to see if there is some evidence he can provide to us that this isn't an oversight.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have not accepted that road. That road is still privately owned by Mr. Healy. And so we could say we will not accept the roadway if you don't make these corrections. I think that's going to end up in court, but sometimes you got to go to court.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you didn't have a leg to stand on.
Well, he kind of does because he kind of has a plan that we signed.
That you
that says
accepted.
they're going to use ABS.
But my concern is if there was a discussion, and I know we need to go back and do
Letty's
some more
trying to say
research.
something, I think. Letty is waving or something. Sorry.
We're not required, so I just want to be clear. We can say no to the road for whatever reason we feel like, because we're not required to accept roads ever.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct.
So, I know we need to do more research and dig into all the things that happened, but it sounded to me like a waiver request was submitted with the knowledge that they wanted to do something that didn't meet our standards, but then was withdrawn. But then they went ahead and did that thing and put contradictory notes on the plan.
Sounds a little squirrely.
So, yeah, it sounds like there was an awareness there of what was being done and the fact that, I don't know what you do when, if it was an oversight on that final check, but up until that point, all the discussion and all the understanding had been that they were going to follow our rules.
I absolutely agree with everything you just said. And I
Very
have
good
to
stuff.
say, Bruce was dumbfounded that I didn't catch this. And I've got to tell you, that's why you have a consulting engineer. I look at plans for everything within the subdivision regulations and zoning, but I don't look at engineering details. It doesn't mean anything to me.
Well, and if, again, from their standpoint, if they had a verbal discussion, if there was evidence that things were gonna be done a certain way, that, you know, that may be what they were expecting to see, and they missed it. And to me, if the intention was there and they changed it after the fact, that's not good.
Correct.
Yeah, but are we gonna know? I don't think we're gonna know.
But I think, the reason I think we need to follow through on this too is that it's important for people who are applying for things and doing projects in our town to understand that it's not okay if that's what happened.
If
And I
that's
don't
what
know for
happened,
sure that's what
exactly.
happened,
Right.
but it's not okay for somebody to come in and present and get approval to do something and then
Do something different.
do something different, and it's in, 4-point font, and we don't know until somebody actually went out of its way to go check on it, so.
To Letty's point, if we do not accept the road, it's a private road, we don't have an issue.
Correct.
So
Correct.
If that's what he wants, that's what he gets. You want a private
I
road?
don't think that's what he's
Okay.
gonna want, but we'll see.
No,
I
Yeah.
don't.
I don't,
Well, we should
Well, I don't think the
probably,
property owners are gonna want that,
No.
because
Yeah.
Rob's gonna go away. And
let's,
then they're going
yeah,
to be responsible for their road.
we should probably wrap this up until we have more information.
Yes, just keep an eye on that folder. I'll send another link out. Maybe explicit in the email what the link is for the Tanya
So-
Lane folder.
And I'm not sure if you're uncomfortable or comfortable, but I'd be more comfortable if you actually did do a motion directing
Okay.
me to correspond with our
TEC.
our
Sure.
town engineer.
Sure, can somebody make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll
that-
second it.
Aye.
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 Letty? Letty?
Aye.
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 Aye. Who seconded that? I'm sorry.
Brian?
You did, Brian.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
thank you.
the letter's gonna say, hey, you put the wrong stuff in here, we're not
No,
gonna.
he's just gonna talk to TEC.
Okay.
Yeah, this is only to talk with our own consultant.
Okay.
Okay, and then we have minutes from October 3rd, and I'm sorry, I went in today. Mark, I don't know if you could bring it up on the screen. I went in today and made some edits.
There's a lot of Moria.
My computer's right now being used as a,
There's a lot of typing.
Well, you're in the Teams meeting. You can
I
share
am.
your screen in Teams.
Mhm.
Or we could just do them at the next meeting.
You
Why
can
don't we do
table
that?
them and
Yep.
give him his,
We can-
give you his comments.
We can just, yeah. So Mark sent out a link to the October 3rd minutes. We now have the ability to go in and make suggested edits. So you all can do that. Yeah.
you may suggest edits and I must approve them. But I would appreciate it if you did it like, I don't know, a day before the meeting.
Let's not talk about when we get things.
The chair can do
I would,
whatever they want.
I would
Doug.
say it's very important that we talk about when we get things.
So I move that we lay the October 3rd minutes on the table.
Okay.
Second.
Motion,
Table
motion
them,
to
you don't want to
table
have your
the,
name spelled correctly.
we're tabling the minutes?
2 pages,
Yeah,
name
till
spelled
next
correctly 3
time.
times, incorrectly.
Trying to stay on top of the minutes.
Making more work?
Just correct his name. Doug's name is 3 times wrong, 2 pages.
We're voting
voting.
to table.
To table.
I'd just rather.
Liz?
So no,
All right, I'm going to start over here. Ned?
I don't want to.
Aye. Aye.
Who,
Aye. Letty?
Aye.
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 Nay.
who was the second?
Doug wasn't.
I just want the
I
class-
made the
You
motion.
made the motion. Didn't you second it?
No,
Oh.
I thought Brian
I
said.
I
seconded
thought
one.
Kristen made the motion.
We doing another one now?
I did.
I can second it. I'll
Letty
second it.
Huh?
That's fine.
Sweet
I
Mark.
thought we
Letty
just
did.
Didn't hear.
Letty did.
No. I need to know.
Letty.
Letty.
Letty made the
I did.
motion.
No.
Doug
Doug
made the
Marino
motion.
made the
seconded.
motion, Letty seconded. And then
It was
Liz
a-
was a no, everybody else was a.
And who was a no?
Me.
It's all right. It's all. Okay. I do want to talk actually about when we get things because the timing of the TEC comments and when people come in, I feel like that's maybe the third time we've had that situation where either they haven't seen them or they just got them that day, or, and I don't know what the answer is. Do we not schedule a hearing until we have all the comments? I feel like it puts everybody in a bad situation because they haven't had a chance to respond and we haven't had a chance to look at them.
Yep.
I know they want to keep things moving too, but
There's definitely been a disconnect with that, lately, say, with several hearings.
Well, Northam said they didn't get them, except
they did.
they did 2 weeks in advance. This week, I didn't get these out until yesterday. It's been the case that I've been getting them out almost 2 weeks early.
Yeah, but TECs, I think, have been
TECs have
late.
not been as punctual.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting busy because trying to get more money.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure why, but we,
Is that something we can just review with TEC and say,
Yeah, I don't know if it's a TEC issue or just that we need to set expectations with applicants that we're not going to schedule a hearing until we have all the comments back, or I don't know.
This latest one was really my fault. I didn't get them to him from a week. But in my opinion, it wasn't a difficult one to review, in my opinion. Should I have gotten them the plan sooner? Yes, I did. I should have sent them out
And I don't think it's
immediately
just
after
this-
the ZBA hearing.
Yeah, I don't think it's just this one. I think we've had this issue on and off with stuff where I feel like there's been a number of times where the applicant hasn't seen all the comments before we start.
it puts them at a
Reviewing them.
disadvantage?
Yeah.
It really does.
Well,
Kind of
how
wastes-
can he
wastes
answer it?
everybody's time, too.
How can he answer a comment that he hasn't seen? You know?
Well, sometimes, they're able to resolve stuff, or there might be back.
right,
and forth. I don't know.
I would say, I don't advocate, even if I give them my comments 2 weeks in advance, I don't want to see a revised plan. Because you folks have to actually agree with the comments that I provide. And if he just, if I provide him, sometimes they're hers, if I provide an engineer my comments and they do all the revisions and you folks didn't agree with my comments, they're gonna do those all again.
Yeah,
And sometimes my comments are, when it's just stuff straight out of the.
right,
site
like
plan
you're
review.
missing a
Right, when it's those kind of things.
stamp or
There's
something, yeah.
nothing wrong with that. But when I, like with the Lambert one, move your access road out of the wetland buffer and you don't have to do a conditional use permit, I can't make them do that.
Yeah.
They could, that's something that you folks should see and comment on, whether you agree with me or not.
It's an
Because
interesting.
I'm not a planning board member, I'm your staff.
Yeah,
It's an interesting.
so maybe
perspective.
it's a setting of an expectation that this, it might take a couple meetings. It's not just, okay, we have everything, but we just got it tonight, and there's, it seems like there's an expectation that they want approval.
Well, everybody wants a
I know, everybody wants.
They
to-
all want approvals right away.
Yeah.
This one tonight had every legitimate reason to expect that it would be a one-night thing,
Yeah,
because it was
Simple.
so much a nothing burger. But I got the impression from MTI that they were a little disturbed about us doing things, but it was our first official meeting. Now, we had a design review, and they were very responsive to everything, except we still have 65 days on an application for a board to consider things.
right,
It doesn't, you need to understand that.
yeah.
You've been, I know that you've been looking at this plan for probably 180 days, but when we get it, we get 65. That's what the law says.
Yeah.
And if you're unhappy with that,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for the
just
most
don't
part,
get
we're pretty efficient and we're pretty quick.
and we
we're
try
pretty-
to be quick for
Yeah.
applicants.
Glenn and I had seen this particular proposal not once, but twice.
Right, because.
It went through the ZBA
The
process,
ZBA
and we
and
went
the
through the proposal,
Yeah.
and now we went through the, so I understand why you would say,
Well, it's, and for that one too, it is process, because this one, okay, it looks simple and you guys have seen it and all that, but the next person could come in and say, well, that last one, you gave them a conditional approval without seeing the comment. You know, I just,
It's a slippery slope.
I
it's
get
a
that,
slippery slope.
but they're all different. That's the thing.
That is-
All these gonna be different. When I send those
But
links,
we gotta do our process the same.
100%, when I
so
send
our-
that,
So our goal, because when I have the least heartburn is when I at least get my comments to them a week before.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I feel most comfortable that it's giving them time to call me if they want to.
Right.
I mean, if they have real heartburn about something, that we can have a discussion about it. So I'm really comfortable saying that. I would think that we should be able to get that same commitment from TEC. And if somebody gets design review comments a week before the public hearing, they really have no reason to complain to us.
Yeah, and then we have them
Exactly.
a week before.
Exactly.
That would be my preference, and I don't know if that means, like, what turnaround we can expect from TEC. I get, again, it depends on the complexity and the size of the
It
project.
does, honestly.
Yeah.
It does, honestly.
So, so that leaves the scheduling of the hearings and telling, setting that expectation with applicants that we won't schedule it unless we've got comments at least a week before.
We generally have maybe a couple days less than 3 weeks if we get an application on a proper agenda timeframe. It's in the office 18 days before the public hearing. So we should be able to always coordinate my time and Chris's time for 1 week. Stuff should be back to us 1 week before the hearing. There are times that I get bogged down with other crap in the office and that becomes an issue, but not very often. That a week, I usually always have them out a week in advance.
Yeah.
But to us, coming back, though, is not very much in advance, right? To the planning board to review.
Well, when his comments are done, we should all get them. So we should have them a week in advance too.
Oh, we should, okay.
as soon as he's done, he emails me
I
directly,
generally
standing right next
generally
to him.
say, Mark, they're coming over to you right now, and
Mhm.
we laugh that sometimes it takes 8 minutes to go from my computer to his,
Next
and
to one.
sometimes it takes 25 seconds.
And then I'm putting it in that file. I'm only sending you a link to the file. I'm not sending you sporadic information anymore.
Right.
If you want to know what's going on with the plan, then you need to go look at the file. I'm sending you a link to a file. I'm no longer sending you bits and pieces of information. I'm sending you, the application comes in, they send it to me electronically, boom, I create a file, I'm sending you a link.
So we need to look a week in advance. This might be where the disconnect is if we don't have an agenda yet,
Correct?
then we don't know that there might be comments sitting in a folder.
And typically, I'm not going to post that agenda. I'm going to post it exactly 26 hours before our meeting. And the
Okay.
reason is for that is because Glenn and I sit down on Wednesdays and information comes in and I go, Glenn, is this enough information to move forward with this agenda with this? Same with like the meat guy.
So here's our
Put that on the
disconnect.
agenda, and
So here's what?
Here's our disconnect, is all the pieces are there, but we as a board might not know until 26, 30 hours, whatever, in advance, that
that's my
It's-
statutory
on
requirement, 24
the-
hours.
that it's on the docket for the next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we, so the options are, when Glenn gives you the go-ahead, it doesn't go that next day. It goes to the next meeting, so that we all have a chance to read everything. And I know that's what the applicant's gonna be like, hey, I turned everything in, I have Glenn's comments, why can't we have a hearing tomorrow? But that doesn't give us any time to look at anything. So either we need to get, I don't know, everybody checks once a week, and so we've read everything, but you might be putting in things.
That agenda
later.
changes. It's a moving document. I've deleted stuff off of there. I pulled the whole Northram thing. That was gonna be.
That was supposed to be.
Yeah, I
Right,
had
there
to
was-
rip that all off. I had to put the
Today.
continuance for that. I had to
Yeah.
add this, take this away, get
Letty?
more information on this one.
Letty?
Did we figure out if, y'all have access to the, calendar part of, Microsoft 365? Did we figure that out?
I haven't,
She's not talking either.
You have access
Yeah.
to the
The only thing
calendar
I-
part of Microsoft 365.
yeah, I don't know. Not unless you've changed. The first time I checked after we got our emails, the only thing I had access to create things in was Outlook, which I guess would include the calendar. But the problem is we don't know necessarily until the day before if something's ready to go.
I mean, Glenn, if that's the theory you want to go with, the comments that Glenn gave me yesterday, I would have had to have called this applicant on Wednesday, tell him he's not appearing today, that he's appearing November 7th. And now you only have a 65-day window once you accept that application.
Yeah. Do we ever run up against that? Really?
When we do run up against that, it's because we have a legitimate reason, like we needed more information
It's
from
only
us.
bigger application.
Yeah.
It's a big, right.
So the trade-offs here are the applicant might have to wait 2 or 3 more weeks than traditionally we've done. But the board will have time to review things. It's really uncomfortable to sit here and feel like you're looking at something for the first time.
Well, I did send you the ZBA application for this applicant.
Yeah, no. I
You
know.
had all that. You could have been reviewing that one. You could have been reviewing this application the whole time,
we
just not
didn't have
knowing Glenn's
TEC.
comments.
Right.
You,
But we don't-
so you
yeah.
can't, you know what I mean? What you're saying is that you need Glenn's comments to do anything with an application. And I don't think that's a true statement. You can be looking at
No.
the plans, you can be looking at our ordinances, you know what I mean? Like,
But that is what you pay me for.
correct.
So, I mean, I'm perfectly happy to commit to having them out 1 week in advance. And it doesn't make a rat's tiny bit of difference to me if when I send them to Mark, I just send them to each of you. That doesn't bother me
Yeah.
in the least.
We have a distribution list now.
That doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
And then you'd have it.
Yep.
Then we follow up with the applicant and say, we've got to wait for TEC?
Well, when I talk with TEC, I don't think he will have any problem with getting us comments a week before if he has 10 days to look at it before we ask him for that comment, 7 days before.
So you saying he'll get that work done in 2 days, 3 days?
I am saying that he will, if when we get the application materials on the roughly 3 weeks before we
Okay.
have the hearing, if he gets it close to that date, and we get everything electronically now,
Mm-hmm.
so he can, he is never going to argue with that. He's never going to.
The other option is to create a schedule, and it has, if you submit your materials by this date, your hearing will be on this date, so that people have some expectations, and we build in enough time to make sure that we can get.
That's,
your comment.
we already do that.
Yeah.
They have a deadline, but the state has set this up, it's in the RSA. You have to apply and have all of your materials to the planning board office 21 days before the planning board hearing you think you're gonna get on. That's always been the case.
Yeah, but we schedule before then sometimes. No,
Never,
it's always 21 days, all right.
never. Now, it changes once the application has started.
Right,
Because if you look at Lambert, that one, we continued probably 4 times because they kept asking for continuances. And then they say they are ready, and in the last instance that they did that, the information they gave us, they really did give it to us about 8 days before the hearing. And then we were sending it to TEC. It's less of an issue with me. I'm here every week.
yeah,
Mark keeps me regimented with what we have for new information. We're not doing that as closely with TEC as you're doing it with me.
I don't stand next to Chris.
okay.
Sometimes he stands next to me.
And I get what you're saying about, there's a folder there and the materials are in there, but honestly, yeah, until I know that it's complete, it makes more sense for me to wait until, and I do look, but it makes more sense to have everything, so you know what you're gonna be dealing with. I don't know. Any other comments?
Not on that.
Any other issues, updates, things?
Just want to bring the board up to date on the Green Snow program or class that Bruce, myself, and the Highway Department went on. I'm not going to go into detail. A lot of information. The instructor is going to come down to the town shed and go over the new truck and the calibration as to distribution of salt and sand. And their bottom line is they're encouraging to have a treated salt used on our roads, which ultimately will save us money and less usage of salt. There's a formula for it, and I don't want to go into it. And there was testing at the end of it. Bruce passed, he beat me, and I passed too. And the Highway Department is waiting to have the instructor to come down, excuse me, and review everything on the truck, and from there, they're gonna take their test, which will qualify us to have retraining every year, anybody who might be interested. And I would encourage anybody who is on the planning board and we're requiring developments to do this program, that you enlighten yourself, because I learned a lot
Enlighten yourselves how.
as to
Go to one of those sessions.
go to one of those sessions. And because we required it on Mill Street. And my point initially was that if we're requiring developments to adopt this Green Snow program, that we ourselves in town should be doing the same thing to set the standard. But I did not realize the knowledge that I had was nothing compared to going to that class. You really learn a lot. And so if we've got somebody in front of us and we say, no, you've got to adopt the Green Snow program, then at least we'll have some understanding as to what you should do.
Is Brentwood buying this whole process? Are they paying for it?
They are paying for anybody in town to go to, Letty, correct me if I'm wrong, but they are they are allowing people from the planning board, select board, and conservation committee to go to this program. And I thought it was great. I learned quite a bit. And if you have the time, next time it's set up, I'd encourage anybody to go.
Also, they don't have another date.
And not set up yet, but as soon as they come available, they'll let us know. And they serve donuts in the morning with coffee and lunch in the afternoon.
And
Is the town gonna adopt it?
That's a Board of Selectmen issue.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're waiting to hear
They have
from
enough
the highway
information,
department.
And the treated salt recommendation, is that just a ratio thing, or is that a specifically new kind of treatment you have to have.
No,
It's a ratio that
it's a
they've
ratio.
developed over
The state has it.
many years of.
And what's gonna happen
So
in the
it's
future
sand,
is,
salt combo, so it's not like you have to have this particularly treated with this particular stuff.
and right now, it's not mandated, but the state is moving in that direction. So ultimately, on the conservation end of it, they'll require towns to be adopting these types of plants.
So they use conventional salt,
Salt and sand right now.
right, nothing
which-
new, it's not a purple or a green or.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
No.
The green
Chemically-
salt.
No, the current salt that we have now can be treated to extend, I guess, the life or the distribution.
When they put it on the
the
ground,
roads.
it's effective
Yep.
over a longer period of time.
It's effective, and more effective than using straight salt and sand. And yes, there's a ratio for using that once you treat it with this chemical.
Oh,
And
you do treat it with.
Yeah, what's
Yes.
the chemical?
I had to ask, I didn't bring my notes.
But who
It-
buys this stuff?
Well,
The DPW will have.
exactly. So there's a little bit of a wave to do that. But this instructor also said there are companies out there that supply you with the equipment for the distribution for $1, provided you buy that chemical from them at a discount rate. And a number of towns are doing that currently.
But we don't have responsibility for that road for 3 years, correct?
I think we're
No,
talking
no,
about all
no,
towns.
just the whole town.
Oh, I thought you were just talking about over here on the river.
No,
No,
I
we-
was saying we required them to do this program, and our town does not currently do that program.
Yep.
And that's why it was pursued to have a couple of people go to this seminar. And Bruce went, I went, and the highway department went.
And the green snow people are not the same people that make the chemicals. that
No,
you have to use
No,
in the-
this is out of the UNH training center. No affiliation with selling any of the product at all.
So you would notify us when the next time they're gonna.
Mark will, I forward that information to him.
I mean, it's not gonna come between and it's gonna be on Saturday and we're not meeting until Thursday.
No, they set up these
No, way in
well
advance.
well in advance.
This was a month,
I'd be interested in going, that's
Yeah.
what I'm at.
well, I'd encourage anybody to go.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Doug. Any other updates? Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Really?
Do we have a second?
I'll second it, I guess.
Hi.
Aye.
Think about it.
Aye.
Letty?
I
Aye.
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 All right, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Please turn off your mic.
Oh, there you go, there's
Who was
Rye.
this- Who was the second? Brian?
What? Oh, yes.